A while back, Nintendo announced that they were going to be updating Splatoon 3 again, and it seemed that this was just going to be another, like, basic, balance and stability patch. There's like a million different weapons and things. There's always something that can be tweaked. But the update goes live in 2 days at the time of this recording, and they just gave us the patch notes, and it seems that this update is a lot more substantial than anyone expected. This is actually bringing some pretty major changes to the gameplay itself. They're introducing something called Flow Aura, which is basically if you rack up enough kills splats within a short enough period of time, then you start to glow and it like raises your stats. I'll just read it here. Players will now gain a flow aura when they do well in battles, such as when they defeat opponents consecutively within a short period of time. The flow aura lasts for a short amount of time. While a player's flow aura persists, its duration will be extended slightly whenever they defeat an opponent or their teammates defeat an opponent they damaged. So that's cool, even if like you don't land a splat, even if you just got like one hit on them, if your teammate splatted them, that's pretty cool. When a player gains a flow aura or extends the duration of their flow aura, the ground at the player's feet will be inked with their color. While a flow aura persists, the run speed up, swim speed up, ink resistance up, and intensify action abilities will be applied. Continuously getting assists with your allies or inking territory during battles will make it more likely to gain a flow aura when defeating opponents. So even just inking the terrain really well will like make you more likely to enter a flow aura. So that's already really substantial. That seems like the kind of thing that you would introduce with like a new game, like a new like numbered title, not just in this like random update. That's kind of a big deal. I'll talk about it specifically more in a minute here. But other stuff being updated, another very, very big change, especially after all these years. When an ally or opponent has taken damage, that player's approximate remaining health will now be displayed. Health bars. We're getting health bars. Opponent's remaining health will display for approximately 3 seconds immediately after taking damage. When the main part of an opponent's body is not visible, such as when they are behind terrain or swimming in ink, their remaining health will not display. When things like thermal ink or the point sensor are revealing an opponent's position, their remaining health will display, even if the player cannot see them. So yeah, health bars in Splatoon. Okay, there you go. And then some other stuff too. I guess we'll just have to wait and see when the update rolls out and people get their hands on it, how much this will be affected. When they use words like slightly, we don't know like what numbered percentage that might be. But it says, slightly decreased the collision detection size for players in swim form to make it harder for opponents' attacks to hit. So just across the board, swimming now makes you evade attacks even more. And then expanded the collision detection size for each main weapon's attacks to make it easier to hit opponents with attacks. Also made it so that the shorter the weapon's shot flight distance, the greater the increase to the collision detection size will be. So across the board, it is now harder to hit swimming opponents, but it's just easier to hit opponents overall. And in fact, the closer you are to them, like the less distance your shot has to travel, the easier it's going to be to hit them. Which is, I don't know, that's kind of crazy. I don't know if like that's their attempt to kind of strengthen long range attacks. There's usually, I'm not a competitive player, but it feels like just like sniping is pretty much like chargers or whatever is pretty much like the thing that everyone does. So maybe this is an attempt to kind of like skew things a little bit more toward closer range weapons. I really don't know, but that's also just like a very big change. Again, we don't know what slightly necessarily means, but that's kind of a big thing. And then a few other things. When attempting to jump a long distance with super jump, while the stealth jump ability is equipped, increase the time required to make the jump by up to 1 second. I guess I'm not going to read the rest. It's all like I don't know. For all I know, these are big deals too, but it's smaller compared to the other stuff. So this update, these changes, it's all really, really surprising for a number of reasons. First, just to focus on the actual like gameplay changes themselves. Again, I'm not a big Splatoon. I mean, I love Splatoon, but I'm not good at it, and I don't play it a lot, and I haven't played it in a long time. So, you know, take all this like, however, like for whatever it's worth. The flow aura thing is cool. I think it's a cool idea, but it kind of seems like there's already a problem with this game where if the opponent is just doing better than you, it can sometimes feel like next to impossible to turn things around. If you're already playing against players who are so much better than you and they're just like spawn camping and they're just splatting everyone, there's nothing you can do about it. This is just gonna make that worse. And this is, I mean, I actually don't think I am alone on this. I've read at least a few comments of people being like, yeah, I don't think this is what the game needed. I really don't think, like, giving the winner more ability to win when they are already winning, that could just imbalance things even more. So that's really surprising. If anything, you needed the opposite. If they have splatted your team this many times, you get an aura to, like, help bring you back a little bit. Don't take that suggestion completely seriously. I don't actually know how you're supposed to balance a multiplayer game, how you help like sway things one way or the other, whatever. So that's already really surprising. And then health bars. Like, again, after all these years, it's really weird to just randomly introduce that. And I'm not necessarily saying that it is bad. For all I know, it's just something that will help. It's just that there's always been such a purity. And it was one really nice thing about Splatoon that kind of set it apart, is not having health bars. It uses a much more like intuitive system. You're basically just going off of like how many times you've hit them and like even like the sound when you're hitting them, and mostly it's how much ink is on them. You know, like the more ink is on them, that's how you know you have done more damage. So yeah, just kind of like a simplicity and a purity to it. But when you introduce health bars, like that's it. Like you've just done away with that really nice like intuitive, very like Nintendo flavored thing. It was a very just Nintendo thing. Let's not have a health bar. Let's make it be more intuitive. This just kind of does away with that. And yeah, I don't know. Again, haven't played enough Splatoon to know. Like for all I know, this is good because it's like, okay, intuitive and simple is nice. But you do have people who play this game very seriously, and maybe if they are like, no, I really do wish I could see exactly how much health was left, that would actually really, really help, then fair enough. It's just surprising. It's just still really surprising that that aspect of Splatoon is just kind of no longer a thing. We have health bars now. So that's why like the main changes themselves are really surprising, but then it's all that much more weird and kind of confusing. Not necessarily bad, just surprising. That it's happening now with Splatoon 3. You know, like Switch 2 is a thing now. We're basically waiting for the next Splatoon game. We're waiting for Splatoon 4. We imagine that it's probably not gonna be very long, because these games have released fairly consistently. I think within the next 1 or 2 years is when we could probably get the next one, if history is anything to go by. But it's almost like, I don't know, like Nintendo really did not waste time updating Splatoon 3 to run better on Switch 2. But then it's like, that's like giving them more reason to like kind of breathe new life into the game. I thought they were just kind of giving it to us just to, I don't know, give us all these Switch 2 updates. It's just giving us more stuff to play. And yet, like, no, like they seem to be wanting to like keep the game alive, which is great, which is cool. Like, absolutely. It's just like, I don't know. It's just kind of surprising to make a big change like this late in the game. And I think logically, it probably does make sense because, you know, look at a game like, was it Super Mario Party? Where years after the fact, they updated that game and gave it online play. It didn't have it at launch. Yeah, literally took years to get online play, and it was like, that's weird. That's so out of the blue. But like, obviously, that was them testing online play so that with the next full release of a Mario Party game, it could have online play at launch, and that was kind of like them. It was like their dry run, you know, it was them troubleshooting it all and getting it all squared away. So if they're making any big changes here, I think that means that that's probably them kind of experimenting with these changes. Maybe they wanted to introduce these ideas and these changes in Splatoon 4, but they didn't want to like commit to it. They didn't want to like give us the game and then have to like find out that it messed up the meta and then have to pull back on it. It would be better to put it into the game now, late into this game's life, so that if it goes wrong, if it does throw off everything, the meta and everything, it won't be so bad if they have to backtrack. Or they just keep it that way. They just, okay, Splatoon 3 is broken now, but oh well, here's Splatoon 4. You know what I mean? So maybe that is why it shouldn't be surprising. Maybe it does make sense that now Splatoon 3 is basically their like experimentation place now. This is their place where they go to try to throw in little tiny new ideas and kind of see how they go. What happens if we make it harder to hit a swimming an opponent, or just like across the board make it easier to hit each other overall? Like, what does that do? And maybe that is why these changes to the gameplay are so strange and dramatic and maybe even kind of backwards. In the case of the Flow Aura, maybe that's them just being like, this is our chance to try something really wild and see how it goes. So I don't know, maybe that was just me working out why it shouldn't be confusing at all, but like, there's just still is something weird about it. I don't know, just like, you acted like you were kind of done with the game, and you stopped doing Splatfest, and we're just kind of like waiting for the next one. Splatoon Raiders is coming this year, and you just like, now we're just getting all these updates for Splatoon 3 with like these changes. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it does make sense that they would try to keep it alive at all. You know, like if the next game is a couple years away, then like, I don't know, it's something of an incentive to like play on Switch 2. You know, if like the performance is a lot better and stuff and you try to keep it alive, okay, yeah, and then at least you're catering to the Splatoon community and potentially giving them a reason to upgrade, maybe. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what other people think about these changes, and of course, just how it all goes down when it all pushes through in 2 days. We're about to see probably a pretty big shift in the meta. I will say though, as a very bad player, the idea that they can't hit me as well when I'm swimming, and that I may be able to hit them a little easier when I'm shooting at, because my aim is terrible. I mean, they can hit me easier too, but like, I don't know. I think that may be a net positive for me.